Here we have question number 10. We are given a point in the xy coordinate. We're not given theta, but we want to find the trig functions for those for the theta. We don't need to get the angle, so 2, 5. But what that really does give us, if we think we've got the point over 2 up 5, again it's not on the unit circle, but it does give us a triangle. Switch colors here. That is 2 by 5. If we draw it that way, it's our angle. There's we don't know what the angle is. We don't really care because we don't need it. But we've got the opposite side of the angle is 5. The adjacent side is 2. So to get all of these trig functions, we just need the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is going to be the 2, and again there's the right triangle, a squared plus b squared, right? And again it's the square root of a squared plus b squared equals c. I took the square root of both sides. So a squared, that's going to be 2 squared plus 5 squared square root. That's what our value of c is going to be. That's 4 plus 25, that's 29. So square root of 29 is what our hypotenuse is. Hypotenuse. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, right? SOHCAHTOA. So opposite over hypotenuse, cosine's adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, so we'll get to that next. Opposite is going to be 5 over square root of 29. And again, they want us to rationalize the denominators. That just means we multiply both the top and the bottom by that denominator, 29. And square root of 29 times square root of 29 is equal to the number 29 without the square root, and then 5 times square root of 29 is 5 square root of 29. So it's all rationalized. So our answer here is going to be 5 square root of 29 all over 29. For cosine, we get the same sort of thing. Cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is 2. We get our 2 over square root of 29. And again, rationalize the denominator, so we just multiply by that denominator. In the top, we get 2 square root of 29. In the bottom, square root of 29 times square root of 29 is 29. Actually, square root of 29 squared, right? We end up with square root of 29 squared, which square root and the square cancel, that gives us 29. Tangent, a little bit easier. It's the sine over the cosine. Or we could just say it's, if we look at this one, it's going to be the opposite over adjacent, so 5 over 2. It's a lot easier. Didn't even have to use a square root here. 5 over 2. And then again, these ones down here are all reciprocal functions. So cosecant is 1 over the sine. So you just do the reciprocal. Now, since we worked it out here, if we do a reciprocal of sine, we end up with a radical in the denominator. So let's do the original up here. We had 5 square root of 29. Let's flip that. Let's take its reciprocal, and that's going to be square root of 29 over 5. We don't need to rationalize anything now. Secant is the same thing with cosine. It's 1 over cosine. It's the inverse function. Not inverse, reciprocal function. Be careful. And so let's take our original cosine, which was 2 over 29. Let's flip it, and that gives us the square root of 29 over 5, and that's that answer. And then cotangent, we go back to the tangent. It's just the reciprocal, 2 over 5. And that's all good. Thanks. Number 10.